Hello there friends and welcome. For today's Pathfinder guide we have all about the new mythic abilities, mythic feats and also even new spells recently added by the latest patch 2.2.0. It is my understanding that you do not need the new DLC The Lord of Nothing at all for these to work. It's all about the free patch. And trust me, some of these are not only fun but also quite powerful additions for your builds, especially armored characters. I want to start with the new mythic abilities, and first my favorite one of them all, Corruptor, which lets your poisons and diseases, both from on-hit effects or spells, ignore enemy immunities. This is of course a massive change because, by default, the most common and dangerous enemy type you fight in Wrath of the Righteous, demons, are all immune to poison. Even the lowliest of them all, they all share this quality. Now you'll be easily able to bypass it just like that with the Corruptor mythic ability that you can of course get as early as mythic level 1. While it is a big benefit for the Assassin Prestige class, which is all about poison on hit, I honestly think it's way better for Spellcasters, especially the classic crowd control ones, because one of the strongest spells in the game, Stinking Cloud, is classified as poison. If you've ever played Kingmaker, then you know just how powerful Stinking Cloud can be. It hits a huge area of effect, the effect is crippling on its own, nauseated, which means enemies cannot do anything at all, they can't perform any actions whatsoever, they'll just stand there while you beat them with your party. And last but not least, as far as I've tested, Corruptor will only bypass enemy immunities, not your own party, which of course is a tremendous benefit because the Delay Poison communal spell found as early as level 5, which just happens to be the same level you'd learn Stinking Cloud from most casters, well, it will protect your whole party against poison, not to mention some other spells. So to put it simply, Stinking Cloud meta is back, baby. Back with a vengeance. The second new mythic ability we have is also quite powerful, Mythic Inspiration. A direct buff to bards, but most importantly skalds as always. It enhances your inspiring abilities by 1+1 for every 3 mythic ranks above the first. And it will work for basically the main abilities of Skald and Bard, Inspire Courage, Inspire Rage and also Insightful Contemplation from the Court Poet Skald subclass, which enhances your party members' mental stats. Better for spellcasters. Of course, in my humble opinion, it's much better for a Skald, because they are that good of a class. Now, it won't actually enhance their rage powers like Lethal Stance or the Beast Totem for natural AC, rather it only works for the Inspire Rage ability, which is automatically applied when you sing with your Skald. For bards with Inspire Courage, it's mostly about damage, because Skalds can already provide competence bonuses from Lethal Stance. Definitely a must-have. I'd say as early as possible if you're going with Skald or Bard. We also have Perfect Cavalry. Moving while mounted no longer provokes attacks of opportunity for you or your mount. It is true that attacks of opportunity are basically the main weakness of mounted builds, because they can bypass your mount's AC and hit the rider directly. It's just that usually you won't really be hit with attacks of opportunity while mounted, unless you're moving away from enemies during battle, but you don't want to do that, right? You'll just want to move to whatever enemy you have, kill that, and then go for the other one, so I don't think it's that important. It's just that for mounted builds there are way better stuff I'd rather pick before. There's also Spellcaster's Onslaught. Whenever you cast a spell, your next single attack roll and damage roll made with a weapon until the end of the next round gains a bonus equal to half your mythic rank. I'm not really feeling the vibe of this one. I suppose it can really help the Magus class because they can combine both spells and attacks in the same turn. It's just that you spend a mythic ability on something that only enhances your next single attack roll. Well, I'd rather it works on all the attacks for the turn, then it could be something worthwhile, but for now, well, I wouldn't bother picking it unless you really had the mythic abilities to spare. We still have more fun abilities, including one that at long last directly enhances the Bomber Alchemist playstyle, Explosives Expert. Whenever you use a bomb, you have a 50% chance, quite big, of immediately recovering the reagents used to create the bomb, which means it's not gonna cost to use. Plus, the damage die of your bombs will also increase by 1. This mythic ability definitely works as a way of enhancing the bomber playstyle, and if you've watched my previous Alchemist bomber build, you know they were, well, not exactly weak, but there just wasn't enough support for the playstyle, because in Wrath you eventually fight enemies with huge amount of hit points, higher than 1000 even on just core or normal. And bomb damage just wasn't there. You would have to go all the way, like going legend, mixing bomb classes to truly increase your bomb potential. Being able to recover bomb uses with such high chances can also help, especially early on when you won't have many uses of your bombs for your alchemist, and they're still great for crowd control effects as well, like curse or knockdown. It's just that for the damage part, I'd rather this scale with mythic ranks, like a lot of the other mythic stuff. For example, 1 damage die every 3 levels or something like that. Because I still think there's not enough bomb damage for a game like Wrath where enemies have such high hit point score. We also have School Tolerance. You no longer suffer penalties of opposition schools of magic. Not really something I'd particularly care for. It is mostly for wizards, but it's just that unless you go with the Thessalonian Specialist, you can still prepare opposition school spells on your character, they just cost more slots. And for Thessalonian you don't need the opposition schools at all, especially now that, for example, Conjuration has been made great again because of Corruptor. And you can always just rely on other spellcasters like a bard, a skald, a cleric or whatever to provide you the spells you're losing. Lastly, spellcasters actually have a lot of powerful mythic stuff to choose from. I mean, triple abundant, then enduring and greater enduring. You also have mythic feats like Mythic Focus, Expanded Arsenal, which has been nerfed at least. I just don't find the space for this, not at all. Now let us cover the newly added mythic feats, and of course the main star of the show is the new Mythic Armor line of feats. And let me tell you, Allcat really went all out with this. Once again, they've proven to be amazing developers because they didn't just half-ass it, right? I mean, they could have just added 1 Mythic Heavy Armor feat and called it a day, but they went all out. They added 3 different variants of each Mythic Armor feat for each different armor type. We have 3 for heavy, 3 for light, and 3 for medium, each doing a different thing. So there's something for everyone here, all build playstyles of course. First, all of the new Mythic Armor feats require you to have the normal armor focus feat on the armor type you want. Which for melee characters isn't that hard, classes like Fighter have an abundance of feats and so on. But let's start with Heavy Armor. First we have Mythic Heavy Armor Assault. While wearing Heavy Armor, whenever you hit a target with a melee attack, you deal additional slashing damage equal to 1d6 plus your armor AC. That's quite a lot of extra damage. Even 1d6 is already good enough, but when you add a static bonus equal to your armor AC, and while Heavy Armors have the highest AC of them all, that's what, an extra 10 plus of damage per each individual hit? Like I said, it's a lot. Amusingly enough, I'd say this is better for characters that don't care about AC at all, like Reach Two-Handers, because of course they always want more damage. We also have Avoidance. While wearing Heavy Armor, you add half your strength bonus to AC instead of Dexterity, but this bonus is not limited by the maximum Dexterity bonus allowed by your armor at all. This of course is a more defensive focused variant, at long last, because well, if you've played Pathfinder, then you know a big complaint was that naked so-called pajama tanks used to be able to get way higher AC than, for example, tanks that actually wore armor. Not so much anymore because of the Mythic Armor feats, and this is a long way in overcoming that. You might think it's not much because it's half your strength bonus, but look, strength is the easiest stat of them all to increase, especially in a game like Wrath where the buffs are out of this world. Mostly because of the size buffs, such as Enlarge Person or Legendary Proportions, that will stack with everything else you have. You of course can add Alchemist Mutagen on top of that. You can easily have higher than 50 strength on your character, and that's a huge bonus to your armor class. The last heavy armor mythic feat is called Endurance, which is more focused on damage reduction instead of, well, more damage or higher AC. While wearing heavy armor, you gain impenetrable damage reduction, equal to half your armor's AC, which can stack with other sources of DR. This is my least favorite one, because when it comes to damage reduction, well, first it's very easy to get a static 10 from the Stone Skin spell, although in this case it can stack with other sources of DR, but even then, I'd rather just rely on armor class and concealment, temporary hit points, and for damage reduction, like I said, just Stone Skin. But that's just me. Now let's get into the light armor mythic feats. Well, they actually all have the same variants: Assault, Avoidance, and Endurance. For light armor Assault, when you are wielding a melee weapon that can be used with weapon finesse, you gain a bonus to your attack rolls equal to half your armor's AC. Not that high of a bonus, I'd say. The melee damage bonus from heavy armor is way better, I think. Because unlike heavy armors, light armors have lower AC scores. And this is only half. The heavy armor Assault is full armor AC to damage, and can be used with any weapon, of course. Now the Avoidance variant. You get to add your mythic rank to the maximum dexterity bonus allowed by your armor. Now this is actually very good, because just like strength, you can still achieve very high dexterity in ref, not as high as strength, but still good enough with certain builds. It's just that depending on how high your dexterity modifier gets later on, we're talking about 20 plus, well, this feat won't make that much of a difference. If I equip a Mithril Tincture plus 5, it's just the same AC, right? Because I'm still limited to a maximum of plus 15. But that's only if you really want to min-max it out. Plus, all attacks made against you will suffer a 5% miss chance that will also increase to 10, 15, and 20% as you get more mythic ranks. Now, this doesn't appear to stack with Concealment, however, which is a big bummer because, well, it's very easy to get 50% Concealment through spell buffs that enemies cannot bypass through Mind Blank, at least nowadays. Well, besides the Blind Fight feat, of course. Lastly, we have the Endurance variant for light armors, which increases your spell resistance equal to your armor's AC, and it will stack with other sources of spell resistance. The main issue is, just like the Assault variant, light armors don't have that high AC. Even if it stacks with other sources of spell resistance, to me, if you want high spell resistance, I mean, just go with a Merged Angel character. Lastly, we have the medium armor focused feats. First with Assault. And well, it seems to be the same as the heavy armor variant. Whenever you are wearing medium armor, your melee attacks will do additional piercing damage equal to 1d6 plus armor AC. I'd rather heavy, however, because, well, heavy armors have higher AC bonuses. Now we have Avoidance for medium armor. While wearing medium armor, you add your Constitution modifier to the maximum dexterity bonus allowed by armor. Once again, I'd rather Avoidance for heavy armor. And lastly, Endurance. While wearing medium armor, you gain equipped armor bonus to AC equal to half your armor's AC, and it doesn't reduce your speed. Yeah, in a way, I think the medium armor mythic feats are kinda outclassed by the heavy armor variants, as they're just better overall. But wait, we still have more. We now have to cover the new mythic shield feats, and we also have one for each shield type: Buckler, Heavy Shield, Light Shield, and even Tower Shield. First with Buckler for Flying Shield style. While using a Buckler, all allies within 50 feet gain a shield bonus to AC equal to your shield's AC. Well, it can be good, but at the same time, there are other ways of granting shield AC to allies, such as the shield spell from Alchemist or Angel. For heavy shields, we have Aggressive Block. Whenever an enemy hits you with a melee weapon without reach, a natural weapon, or an unarmed strike, you deal bludgeoning damage as retaliation equal to your shield AC plus strength bonus. Well, considering how high your strength bonus can be, this can be a decent enough damage, but I'd rather deal damage when I attack instead of, having the enemies attack you. For light shields we have Deflection. You gain a shield bonus to reflex saving throws equal to your shield's AC. Kinda poor. There are much better ways of getting high reflex saves instead of spending a mythic feat. And reflex saving throws are just for spells anyways. Lastly we have Tower Shield, Fortress. While using a Tower Shield, you'll gain impenetrable damage reduction equal to half your shield's AC, which will stack with other sources. It's okay at most, I suppose, unless you're really stacking damage reduction on your character. In my humble opinion, the Mythic Armor feats are definitely better than the Mythic Shield ones. And by the way, you can actually stack multiple of the Mythic Armor feats, so long as it's the same type, of course, because you can't equip multiple armor types at the same time. What this means is, for example, for Heavy, you can benefit from both the damage boost through Assault, and of course the AC boost from Avoidance. Now let us cover the new spells added by the latest patch. Starting with a 2nd level arcane spell, Ghoul Touch. I'm pretty sure this is a new spell, despite the fact that it has been available in quite a lot of older D&D games, including Baldur's Gate 1 and Neverwinter Nights. And unfortunately, it still suffers from the same limitations as always. For starters, well, it's a melee touch attack, so you not only have to hit the enemy, but also be rather close to them, somewhat dangerous for a low-level wizard or sorcerer, although at least for this part, you can overcome it through the reach metamagic, feat or rods. Still, the enemy can save against the effect, it's only single target, which is somewhat of a bummer, but if they fail the save, they'll be paralyzed, quite the powerful crowd control effect, and even emanate a poison cloud around them for further debuffing. The main issue is, well, it's easily outclassed by other spells of the same level. For example, as a 2nd level spell, we also have the classic Glitter Dust, except its area of effect and doesn't require you to be so close to the enemy, or of course, the ever so useful Grease as a heightened variant. For level 3 we first have Lesser Animate Dead, although for Divine Casters this is a level 2 spell. So will come earlier at, for example, Cleric 3 or Oracle 4. It's essentially, well, exactly the same as a normal Animate Dead spell that you would get at level 4 for Arcane Casters or level 3 for Divine ones. In that, as you can see, it's the same duration and same creature summon, Skeletal Champions, except for the normal Animate Dead, it's more summons at once, 1d4 plus 2. Meanwhile, for the lesser variant, we have 1d3 plus 1 summons instead. Now, the Undead Skeleton Champions can make for good enough minions early on, especially because you can now summon them as early as level 3 through Lesser Animate Dead. Just don't expect them to be anything but distractions later in the game, even through the Lich Mythic path, because their stats aren't that good. For another level 3 spell we have Vengeful Comets. This is quite a unique spell in that you first conjure a number of miniature comets equal to 1 per 4 caster levels, which provide you with a circumstance bonus equal to the number of comets on all saving throws against fire effects. Kinda niche in my humble opinion, because at the same level, well, you can just cast Resist Energy Communal against fire for barely any fire damage taken. But anyways, this also has an offensive use. Once per round, whenever you are affected by a spell, you can fire one of your comets as retaliation. They are ranged touch attacks that will deal 1d6 points of bludgeoning damage and 3d6 of cold, plus 1 cold per 2 caster levels. If you counter a fire spell, you actually get to fire another comet. Once again, it's quite a limited spell, because why would you bother when you can just become immune to fire damage, even at the same level? Plus, you have to get the enemy to cast a spell on you first, which is also very situational, at least in my humble opinion. The next unique arcane spell comes at level 6, Repulsion, which lets you create an aura around your character that prevents the movement of creatures in a rather big radius. Anyone that enters or is already inside the field must attempt a will save. If they fail, they will not be able to move at all until they actually leave the area. The main issue I have with this is that, okay, it only prevents enemies from moving, but they can still attack you with range attacks, with spells and so on. I suppose it could be good if you wanted to lock melee enemies down, but you still have to reach them to attack anyways with your own melee characters. Maybe if you were just making a full ranged party, I suppose. For level 7 we have Symbol of Weakness. It lets you create a symbol that when triggered, of course if you cast it on top of the enemy it will be instantly triggered, will debuff their strength with 3d6 points of damage. I wouldn't really bother with this because, well, it's a level 7 spell. At this point you have way better spells to spend your spell slots into. I guess you could at least maximize the strength damage. I mean, 18 is a lot. But enemies in Wrath tend to have very high stats regardless. For level 8 spells we have a new summon, Create Greater Undead, which can summon either a Devourer or an advanced Greater Shadow. It suffers from the same limitation as the other undead summons, well, besides the Lich special ones, in that it's only 1 round per level. However, unlike the lowly skeletons from either Animate Dead or the new lesser variant, the Devourer summons especially can be quite powerful because they hit hard and also automatically inflict level drain on every single hit. So in a way, they are definitely a nice enough upgrade, especially if you are the Lich Mythic path that can easily buff them even further, despite the low duration. Lich can even make them into permanent summons, that is 24 hours duration, but that takes a while. It's usually chapter 4 only plus. As far as the Greater Shadow, it can drain strength on hit, but I just rather the Devourer's level drain is that good. The same for, well, the fact they hit hard. And at long last we also have new level 9 spells. Let's start with the classic Meteor Swarm. It hits a huge area and, well, anyone inside will take 8d6 points of bludgeoning damage plus 24d6 points of fire damage, with a reflex saving throw for half. So essentially we have 32d6 damage, not counting of course all sorts of other benefits and buffs you can apply to this like meta magic and bloodline boost and so on. Now the damage won't be the best for this point in the game at least, but it's a very cool looking spell. It's just that for level 9, well, you kinda have better choices. For example, you could just instantly kill enemies with Weird, or well, just cast the Mythic Lich and Angel spells, which are better. But for an Evoker Specialist character, it can be a fun spell, just don't expect it to be overpowered or anything. Lastly, we have Symbol of Vulnerability. It's a symbol spell just like Weakness, we just covered, and the effect is quite crippling. All affected creatures will take, first, a -4 penalty to spell resistance, quite unique, but most importantly, -4 to their saving throws as well, so it can help prepare them for further more powerful spells like Weird for instant kills. It even reduces the damage reduction of creatures by 10, and suppresses any energy resistance they might have. Of course, once again, it kinda suffers from the same issue that you have better spells at this point. But at the very least, the saving throw reduction is good enough. We still have more new spells, but they are divine ones, so for clerics and oracles. First, speaking about oracles, we have Oracle's Burden. It is a curse that will essentially make the enemy suffer the penalties from your very own oracle's curse. So for example, if you were a Blackened Oracle, they would take a -4 penalty on weapon attack rolls. My main issue with this is that, well, it offers a saving throw and also has to bypass spell resistance. Kinda subpar to me for a level 2 spell. It's just that you have better options, I think. Including of course the Skellies from lesser Animate Dead, which like I said, Divine Casters get earlier than Arcane ones. However, Create Greater Undead will only come as a level 8 spell for both Arcane and Divine Casters. Lastly, Divine Casters actually have a unique level 9 spell as well, something very welcome because, well, the level 9 spell list is kinda poor compared to other D&D games. Now we also have Implosion, also a classic spell from Neverwinter Nights, if you know what I mean. Each round, including after immediately casting the spell, you can cause one creature to collapse in on itself, dealing 10 points of damage per caster level with no cap. Quite nice. The main downside is, well, they can negate it with a fortitude saving throw. On the other hand, you can also choose a new target as a move action. I think I prefer the Neverwinter Nights version, which was just area of effect, just like that. Once again, while it is a cool spell, the main issue is you have better options at the same level, right? Because it's a level 9 spell. I just much rather cast the Mythic Angel spells if you were going with a Divine Caster anyways. But it kinda helps with the fact that normal Divine Casters don't really have any offensive damage spells at level 9 besides this now. Lastly, we have a spell that is Druid exclusive for nature casters, Fungal Infestation. A disease spell that first makes the target takes 1d3 points of charisma damage. Second, any physical attack against them will deal an additional 1d6 points of bleed. Lastly, if the enemy dies under the effect, it will explode in a cloud of negative energy damage equal to 1d8 per 2 caster level for maximum 10d8 damage for all nearby creatures, who also have to succeed on a fortitude saving throw or also become infested with the fungus. Quite a nice spell. Of course, because of the fact it hits everyone around the target and also infests them, I'd rather use this for a Lich, maybe a Druid Lich, as crazy as that sounds, because at least you can become immune to negative energy damage. But I suppose the Death Ward spell can also do that for your own characters at least, to keep you safe. We also have a new level 1 witch spell called Omen. It has no saving throw but is affected by spell resistance, and well, for the next d20 roll the target makes, they have to roll twice and take the worst result. For every 5 caster levels you have, they must roll twice on an additional d20 roll, for a maximum of 5 rolls at level 20. This can be quite a powerful debuffing spell, but it's better at later levels, right? Because for just one roll, well, I'd rather cast something else. But when you start multiplying the rolls the enemies have to suffer through, that's when it gets better, especially because it offers no saving throw whatsoever. And well, this is pretty much it for all the new Mythic abilities, Mythic feats and spells added by the latest patch for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. As always, if you found this guide useful, please remember to like, subscribe and also consider becoming a channel member if you can. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends, with a full guide on all of the new archetypes. We have 15 new ones added by the latest DLC, not the latest patch. See you next time.